and welcome to Blooming Curious. I'm your host, Edwina. If you are interested in teaching children from home and you want a richer, deep learning experience, you're not just into tick boxes and worksheets, then this is the podcast and the place for you. So click that subscribe bell so that you will be notified each time a new episode is published. So let's get into this week's episode. December is just around the corner and suddenly your carefully planned routine falls apart. Between holiday preparations, family gatherings, and the general excitement in the air, it feels impossible to maintain any learning momentum. You're torn between sticking to your plans and just giving up until the end of January. Well, today, I am going to offer you the best of both worlds. A way children can still learn, work on the fine motor skills, their hand-eye coordination. They can learn patience and how to just be. And you can even tick off some curriculum boxes. Back in the classroom, this was actually my favorite time of year. This is the time that I would get children hooked on handicrafts. And every year when I saw that beautiful positive shift into calm, that hum that would sit so beautifully, I used to think I really must start this at the beginning of the year and then continue throughout the year. But it just never happened. The one reason I think that handicrafts has this positive effect on children is because they're making something with their hands. And I know it has a positive effect because children remember this time well past their time with me. In fact, in my previous school, at the end of the year sixes would give a presentation, recapping and reflecting on their primary school experience. And whenever they got to the year 2 experience and the time they spent with me, they would mention the things we made, the French knitting and the sewing. In the Charlotte Mason tradition, handicrafts actually take a very central position. In fact, she believed that handicrafts were an essential part of a child's education. We're not talking here about gluing macaroni pieces onto a piece of card. No. Handicrafts are the making of something useful and worth keeping. Even something you can make and give away as a gift. And don't think for a minute that children are too young to be learning to knit, crochet, or weave, because they absolutely can. Charlotte Mason actually said that when making handicrafts, they should be taught slowly and carefully, and that slipshod work, what a beautiful word, should not be allowed, and that children should therefore work within their compass, in other words, within their capabilities. Young children can definitely be taught to weave and use large tapestry needles, even those plastic ones, and learn to stitch pieces of fabric together. And they can definitely learn how to French knit using an old cotton spool, or even, as I've done in the past so many times, an empty cardboard toilet roll, at the middle section, and then tape some pop sticks to the outside. And I've had children create beautiful woven wall hangings. They've done covers for tin cans using French knitting that they would use as a pencil holder. We've created hand-sewn Christmas tree ornaments. If you think about it, 100 years ago, children frequently made their own toys. Things from corn husks, like dolls. They carved and played with wooden toys. They wove baskets. And as they got older, they were able to whittle wood and make beautiful carved items. And it was really commonplace for girls to be able to do beautiful embroidery. Nowadays, all we expect for them is to tap and swipe. What a waste of a God-given creative talent. I think that young children could do more because they were expected to. Nowadays, I feel as though we have really lowered our expectations of what children are capable of. I've actually seen really smart, switched on 10-year-olds unable to just hand sew 2 pieces of cloth together with a simple in and out repetitive motion with a needle and thread. And that's only because they've never had that exposure. I think also the fact that Christmas has become so commercialized has something to do with this. So now we just buy stuff instead of make it, right? And also the fact that we're time poor. Although I do question that because, as I mentioned in last week's episode, everyone has 24 hours in a day, and some people tend to do so much more with their 24 hours than others. And I think those that can are the ones that haven't allowed their phones and social media to steal their time. And as Charlotte Mason also said, we need to teach children how to do these things properly. And I found the children really valued what they had made. They were proud of their achievements. And the wonderful thing about making something with your hands is that it's tangible. You see the result in front of you. And as you prepare for Christmas, why not get children involved in making things, either as gifts for others or even just something for themselves? Pinterest is chock full of ideas, and you can easily get some inspiration there. Things that my students have made, they've done pillows for their beds, for example. They've done stuffed animals. As I said earlier, French knitted pencil cover holders. They've made placemats from French knitting and even sock puppets. And we always made a Christmas ornament. Usually I cut out the fabric pieces and then they would hand stitch that together and we would fill it with hobbyful stuffing, attach a ribbon so that that could be hung onto a Christmas tree. And you could even use felt instead of fabric, which makes lovely Christmas ornaments or little animals, which children just love making. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do you prove that these activities have some kind of curriculum value to a moderator, checking in that you're covering everything you're supposed to be covering? Well, handicrafts are the perfect solution for your design and technologies curriculum. They fit it perfectly. Children need to draw their design of what they want to make. They've got to state what kind of materials they're going to use. And then once the craft is finished, they take a photograph and then they compare that, their finished design, to the one that they drew. They reflect on the changes they've made, if any at all, and why they had to make those changes. I have a free technologies and design graphic organizer for you. I'll leave a link to it in the show notes so you can download it there for your convenience. Now, the other thing I have done in the past is I asked children to write a procedural text. Now, obviously, you're going to have to teach them how to write a procedure before you do this. But they wrote the procedure of the steps they took to create this handicraft. So here you can again meet the curriculum requirements in English. They could create a recipe of the instructions and then with a photograph of their completed product, and they can make a poster of that. There's so many different ideas. Creating handicraft is really multifaceted learning experience. It's developing children's hand-eye coordination, their fine motor skills. They're learning to focus and to be patient. They're learning resilience because they will make mistakes, but it's so easy to pull out, a few rows of French knitting or a few stitches and then try again. And when they see that connection between writing a procedural text and what they've created, they start to see that learning is connected to real everyday experiences. And really, isn't that a far deeper, richer learning experience than what they're getting by tapping and swiping a screen? I've written a blog post about this topic and even posted pictures of the things that my own students have made. I'll leave a link for you in the show notes so that you can go and have a read and have a look of that. Now, in conclusion, enjoy this time. Stop stressing. Enjoy this beautiful season and remember that learning doesn't just happen with pencils and paper. It happens in the tangible life experiences that we all experience all the time. Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed today's episode, can you do me a big favor? Please click on those 3 dots, go to the show, not the episode, the show, then scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see there's a link that says write a review. I would love it if you would please write me a review and give the show a 5-star rating. I mean, what else would you give, all right? Once again, go to the show notes to get your free download and to sign up to Get Curious, my weekly newsletter that provides inspiration, tips, and strategies to keep you and the children you teach blooming curious. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.